And his opponent on the other side of the map, not looking bad himself. I mean, look at how handsome that mug is. We have the blue Terran player. He is Big Gabe. Repping Mouse Esports for basically possibly the entire lifeline of, you know, Rainer, Clem, or Max Packs and everything. It's been a long time.
Yeah, lifespan.
Most of their life. It's been most of their lifespan, actually. Majority of it.
Yeah, exactly. Or who is like I know there's some young GM players that are playing in some of those tournaments that are literally like, if you are under age 16, you're GM, like playing these tournaments. I forget the name of it right now. I name one of the guys right now. But anyways, like some of those guys are literally 13, and it's like, oh, that's fine. I'm okay.
At the age of 13, you're already making more money than I had, and I had a summer job.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, yeah, been around for a long time. Had his ups and downs, and literally just like at one point, I'm pretty sure he did actually just stop playing StarCraft for a while, but I'm talking years and years ago. And then never really stopped, was kind of streaming. Now HeroMarine, I don't know, he had a steady climb up. He was never really bad. But then, you know, 3 years ago, it was like, oh my God, he's actually really good. And then now, as of this moment, he looks like he can't lose to anyone but Rainer and Cyril. Kind of amazing.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. It's like, you know what it reminds me a little bit of? And I hope people don't take this the wrong way, because I mean this in like a more prestigious way. But he's like a better version of what like Jon Snow or Namshar were, where Jon Snow or Namshar for the NA or EU scene were just these hyper consistent players where it's like, well, they're actually just like the gatekeepers for making it into the upper echelons of like North America, or, you know, Namshar making it into like that higher tier European player. But HeroMarine is that for turning into a godlike player, like you said. Like, so you have to beat him in order to even kind of remotely ascend to Rainer, Cyril, like that kind of status.
Yeah, which Clem almost has done. I mean, Clem's also technically beat the other two guys too, but it's like definitely top four. And we saw the, you know, the group preview right there. It is worth mentioning that sort of lost to Denver. I believe, yeah. So Denver 2-1. So actually everyone, apparently, I'm just trusting the computer right now, but apparently everyone in Group D still has a chance to make it through. But these two guys are obviously fighting to be undefeated in the group, which just is a bunch of honor, basically, and to cement top 2, which is also very important. Top 4 makes it through, but top 2 gets placed in the winner's bracket, which is really nice.
Absolutely. Now I'm expecting to see a lot of different fun strategies being placed out over here, layer after layer of metagame and analysis and everything. But here is another layer that's going to be put on down as it comes up on 2 bases very, very quickly. HeroMarine is going to move in with the to the Hellions with a 3rd base, confirm that it's not there, confirms it's not at the gold base either. An infestation pit wall. Zombie Grub, you know?
What?
Sometimes you play StarCraft for 10 years and like I still see something new every so often.
Yeah, I 100% thought it was going to be Aspire. I'm actually assuming that HeroMarine assumes that it's Aspire, even though he hasn't technically seen it's even like only 2 bases. HeroMarine is going to do a Hellion drop. No, wait, where did that drop go? Oh, Marine drop in the main and then Hellions in the natural. So he'll get the Scout and he'll do some damage, but what does it even mean? Really?
Okay, if he had okay, he's making an Ice Storm. I was gonna say, if he had a Night Storm coming up earlier, I was gonna say Stormhouse. That kind of makes sense. This is Golden Wall. This is like not a terrible map for it. But this is so strange. And he clicks on the infestation, but he's like, what? Okay, well, I guess I just make use of these Marines. You're on 2 bases, so all I have to do is just hyper defend against whatever early waves, and then I'm solid, right?
Yeah, I gotta assume that this is specifically a Golden Wall tactic, you know? Like, he's gonna be able to abuse low, bottom side of the map versus the high side of the map, and I'm even mixing up my words here because I'm just so shocked. So first of all, it's on the bottom side of the map. That should be the most predictable place, but it's like, even if HeroMarine could literally see it, what does he have to actually defend against it?
Can I just note how difficult it is to even deal with the Hellion harassment? Because he doesn't even have Queens injecting on his main base or anything, because he's just been forced back dealing with all this stuff. And now the Night Storm pops up. There's only 3 Stormos here. He's gonna maybe get like an add-on?
Yeah, he's gonna go after the bunker.
He goes to the bunker? Okay.
Yeah, the Marines in the bunker might be able to take out the Nidus, but...
He's gonna get Marines. That's not bad.
I'm like, is this really gonna work? Can queens pop out?
Oh god, nice
Oh
one
my
gets sniped
God.
off.
Yeah, but
Wait,
it's still all the queens here. They're gonna take a while for non-sim Marines to actually clean up, and Marine number down at 7. Hellions is really coming back for the next Nidus Storm pops up. The next Nidus Storm is on the way though. Viking even lands to help out. The queens are almost dead. The SCVs are full on top of the Nidus. What's gonna pop out? What is even here? Where are the roaches? There they are. Oh my god.
They're going after the SCVs instead of the Marines, and now the Marines have stim the second it finishes. HeroMarine goes for the stim. Some of the Swarmos coming in for the low ground though. They push back those units, and the reactor is going to get taken out over here, so the medevacs are going to be coming out much slower. These stims are going to become a lot harder to make work, but the roaches going for a regular move command into the Marines, not exactly how they want to fight that. There's still 2 Nidus Swarms available over here. Remember, Elazer is hyper all in with this, but Swarmos aren't going to die during all of this. Swarmos are going to be consistent DPS every so often.
If he does enough damage, he might be able to play out a Swarm Host game. There's going to be complications if this turns into a macro game. A very big if indeed. HeroMarine is now down 13 workers. He's forcible SCVs to ensure his army survives, but I think that is absolutely the right call. If his army survives, he cleans up the rest of the stuff. Like these Marines with medevacs are just getting better and better, and he also can use them to drop after this. The Locust can no longer help out here, and the Elazer, what is that, his 5th Nidus Swarm? Just simply doesn't do anything. HeroMarine was probably just WTFing the entire time, but his crisis management continues to be pretty solid. He might be down 15 workers, but he has 3 orbitals.
3 orbitals, the magic number that just evaporates any semblances of economic leads your opponent might think they have, especially with Elazer still being on 2 hatcheries. Is he even gonna bother taking a 3rd anytime soon? I really feel like he should have by now. And you know what? I wouldn't even hate at this point with just having the Nidus Swarms taken to like a 3rd somewhere with a Nidus Swarm. Just put a drone in there, take like the gold from the other side, do something unexpected.
Apparently Rogue did this, but I didn't actually watch the games. I don't know how it's supposed to go.
Last night, you mean, or?
I guess maybe, yeah. Basically, I read it on like Reddit when I woke up, right? So I don't think it's working, but I wonder if there's any like long plan here, right? Because there's basically, if HeroMarine had overinvested, like if he had lost all of his Marines, he probably loses the game. But because he was good enough to bring them back and then have his 3 barracks actually with reactors consistently pumping, he has held on. And I feel like it's all he had to really do. The roaches aren't going to have upgrades. The swarm hosts eventually just get outmaneuvered by Bio, because we don't see them, versus Bio Terran. And what could there be an actual follow-up plan here? I don't think so.
Oh man, this is the awkward moment where a bunch of these Marines are going to be showing up on the top side, and HeroMarine just loaded up more Marines into a medevac drop. He's going to get a cancel on that 3rd base. That is actually really big. HeroMarine really keeping Elazer's economy limited. The funny thing is, I feel like this is actually a nice moment for the Swarmos to start moving in. He is finally going to use 1 wave of those Locusts. Don't dive on just the Marines. Go for the Sea Shanks. Go for the big damage here.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to go. He's going to try and bust the bunker, but that actually works, but just barely. This Marine drop to the north is going to be able to take out the hatchery, and Elazer, I mean, wisely pulls back his roaches. They just would have been sacrificed, but doesn't cancel the hatchery.
Yeah, I don't actually know how he defends against these Marines like very well. Because yes, these roaches are in large enough numbers he can push it back, but yeah, there's no actual anti-air here. There's a couple of queens on the map, but Elazer's just sitting back on 2 bases. Elazer needs more than just I kept my 2 bases alive. He needs to establish a 3rd base desperately. Okay, Swarmos coming in from the north side.
Yeah, they don't really do well against the Marines. Like, unlike Protoss units, you know, which are all expensive and hard to rebuild and don't have, like, as much, like, they just don't fire as fast as Marines. Yeah, Marines don't necessarily fear Locusts. Sometimes when it happens really early. Yeah, absolutely. Just the number of Locusts outweighs the number of units that Terran has, but we're past that point, so... I feel very strongly that like Elazer is dead. I was gonna say,
yeah,
but I kind of want this to work. They really don't. I mean, we got roaches first of all, and then swarm hosts, 2 like biggest supply trains ever.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Burrow and tunneling claws coming out is maybe the opportunity for something, but just how do you survive? How do you survive long enough to actually get a lot of value out of those? Another Night Storm's gonna get picked off. I think there's one creep tumor left, and oh man, he's actually yeah, this is maybe gonna provide another Night Swarm vision. Like this turns into a semi-base trade, but I don't really think you want a base trade with this composition. From Elazer, I mean.
Yeah, I know what you meant, but I agree. I don't think you do. Simply rip and tear through those roaches. Easy. The medevac, the marine count, and the 1-1 upgrade lead. Just shy of Elazer's upgrades finishing. Now he's going to try. Everything here is going to have the 1-1 upgrade, so that's something. But the tanks are being focused on top of the roaches. The Marines don't even care about the corrosive bile. They are just going to run through this army.
Yeah, more roaches showing up from behind, and they are going to be able to take out those siege tanks. The swarm hosts getting scanned as they burrow, so those are also going to get picked off finally at long last. Doesn't look like HeroMarine's going to have to worry too much about this. Another night. What are you going to put in the Night Swarm, Elazer? What are you planning to put in it? GG.
Well, okay.
That was a strategy.
I mean, you could really say that it's a really good strategy, right? That's the thing about these big brain, just totally uncommon strategies is that when they work, they look amazing. When they don't work, they look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
If the Mothership Rush yesterday didn't work, Mim Canning's a fool. But
yeah. No, I think that's a good way of putting it. Like, Elazer had to make damage happen with that first 1 or 2 waves of Locust. And once you don't, we saw what happened. Stim finishes, and suddenly it's like, oh, you actually just evaporating the Locust. Now the Roaches can't contend with the Marines because they have Stim and Medevacs here. Like, things just start going worse and worse and worse. But if you do get that critical mass, that first wave of Locust does the big damage, yeah, it absolutely could do something there.
Yeah. I see the power in it, but I feel like it is much like any Night Swarm play is big snowball effect, you know? And the fact that HeroMarine could at least save his production, he lost a bit of his starport production, and even the tanks were coming out that fast. The fact that he could get a decent number of Marines was actually enough with some very well-timed stim. So, yeah, I think it's very important that he did not go swarm host and then just lose all of his Marines, because that would have started the snowball effect. I don't know which game Elazer took that from, but it doesn't surprise me that Rogue was the one to do it. I don't know when it happened or what it looks like.
Yeah. It's really, really important to mention, guys, that is really a golden wall build. That's not a build that you do on these other maps. This isn't like Elazer's new ZVT that he's like, this is my game plan or anything. So we're moving probably into, I want to say slightly more normal games, but it's only because I feel like it's harder to get more off the beaten path than that and still show some great games versus HeroMarine. I'm expecting more normal games.
Yeah. Also, imagine if it wasn't that scouted, you know, and he didn't have to deal with the Marines in the main, and then he didn't lose drones to the Hellions.
Yeah.
Storm hosts are pretty expensive. If he had, I don't know, 5 instead of 3 or whatever it was, it could have been a very big deal. Well, it is what it is, right? Elazer's little cheeky build did not work out, and I agree with you. I think we'll see some normal stuff from here on out. We move on to Death Aura. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Ego's Elazer.
And up in the top left-hand side of the map, we have from Mouse Esports, the blue Terran player, HeroMarine. Sitting up 1-0 in this best of 3. And with both these players, remember, being undefeated, being able to get this next victory here, if HeroMarine's able to close this out, or if Elazer can kind of reverse sweep this series, putting yourself at a 5-0, that's actually more than just, oh, I have a good chance, like I'm almost guaranteed to advance out of the groups. It means that you have a very good chance of advancing out in top 2, which, like Zomberger was saying in the last series, it means that you get seeded into the playoffs. That means you have to play fewer matches and you actually have an extra life. You can afford to lose versus a player and not be knocked out of the tournament.
I want to say they're guaranteed to make it out, but apparently they're not quite guaranteed. But you're right. It's more about the top 2. Like, that's going to be where it really cements you in there, and you don't have to necessarily worry so much. I mean, both these guys, this is one of their most difficult matches. HeroMarine, I think, is just at that point where he beats almost all Europeans. So difficult might be a strong word for him. But not to disrespect Elazer, that's just where HeroMarine's at.
I do think, so the 2 players that each one of these guys still have to play after this series, HeroMarine has to play I'm just gonna keep calling him Aquarion because I don't know. It sounds more fun than Aquaron. But okay, Aquaron. He still has to play HeroMarine. I think HeroMarine should be pretty heavily favored there. Then HeroMarine has to play Marine Lord, and I do think that's where things can get a little bit strange because Marine Lord, he shows up sometimes. He really shows up for certain specific series. And Elazer, I think, is in a similar situation where it's like he has to play sort of. I think Elazer should be pretty favored there. But then he has to play Denver, who I actually feel like also can occasionally really show up for the right matches.
Sure, yeah, I agree with the way you're phrasing it. They can really show up. But these guys, I mean, HeroMarine's always been very stable, always, you know, dependable. Elazer was in question, but he's 4-0 right now. So I don't think we question Elazer so much anymore, especially unlike last season, where I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure we depend on him to win even the next two ZVZs. As chaotic as they can get, but that is going to be for later. We're still on this TVZ.
Yeah.
And HeroMarine has gone for a 3cc build. The only thing I was really worried about in the pre-show, you know, thinking of the predictions, the only thing I was worried about is that we saw a string that personally affected me of Terrans going 3cc and then getting all in. And I was like, stop it.
Zombie Girl, are you bringing that up for a reason?
Well, yeah, because, you know, that's what I thought HeroMarine could possibly lose to. He's been a fan of 3cc in multiple matchups. And in this game, he is going straight to the 3cc. So he's delayed his starport. He's not even going to get it. It's going to give him those faster Marines, and maybe he swaps immediately to a tech lab for a factory to get a tank. But Elazer might be able to get some nice damage here in the early part with this Roach Warren. I don't know if he's going to win the game, of course, but get some really nice damage, set him up in a good place.
Yeah, this is not like the 4 or 5 Ravager bust or anything. This hits a lot later on, so it is just going to be about making a handful of these roaches while he grabs a third base, can push back the Hellions for a little bit, and then kind of moves across the map, tries to find some damage where he can. So HeroMarine moves forward, and he is going to have seen the third base timing, I believe. So that plus he should be able to spot out these roaches before they actually get to move across the map if he's in position.
Yeah, so he could have just made 6 roaches and just been like, hey, yep, I gotcha. You know, here's a couple SCVs, but he's also going to make those lings. This is actually pretty dedicated.
Has HeroMarine spotted this yet? Like, he didn't see the roaches move out.
No. And he's actually doing kind of one of the worst builds here. Not that a Liberator would have helped out because Ravagers will be making, as we see there, but he also didn't put a tech lab in his factory. He is going extreme greed, and my fear is coming true right now. I don't know how HeroMarine holds this. I don't think he does.
That's a good reveal. Seeing the Ravager morphing in front of your main base as you realize I don't have a wall and the Ravagers are here. Oh boy, well, this is going to be a tough hold here for HeroMarine. He's going to have to pull some of these workers. Lings are going to be able to handle a majority of the SCVs, trying to buffer the damage. While look at the nice micro over here from the Ravagers. A lot of them actually target firing down individual Marines as well. As he also manages to push back his army, but now it's Tim finished up. Is that going to be enough for him to close the gap here?
Yeah, apparently. It's interesting. You don't usually see the, I guess, such the greedy third CC. So he has like really nice, he has a really nice Marine count, faster than you would expect, right? Because he literally just went right into the barracks after the third CC. Generally, you would say, oh, a tank would be better in that situation, right? But then again, a tank gets Corrosive Bile. So in a weird way, actually, going for the faster third CC, going for the faster reactors here to add on and not having a tank, it feels like it gives him more chance, because not only did he have enough Marines to actually push that back, of course, the sacrifice of 20 SCVs, but he also now has the number of Marines that gets really scary when drops come into play. You know, it's going to be a little delayed, of course, start only finishing up that reactor, but this game's still very interesting. 20 SCVs, I actually think, is kind of the bare minimum of what you want to get against a third CC. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I think one thing about this that was also makes it interesting for me is that Elazer did have a lot of drones coming out after the big flood of Lings. Like you said, it wasn't just 5 or 6 roaches pushing forward, it was a bunch of Lings. But immediately afterwards, before the attack even began, he was actually going back into drones. He had the third base established. He immediately took a 4th base behind. This is up at like a healthy worker count. I think as long as he's able to deal with the drops appropriately with, you know, his lair finished up and everything now, do you feel like Elazer's still going to be in an advantageous position, or is it still pretty even?
If he deals with the drops, I think he'll be feeling actually pretty nice about this game. But if these drops are able to pull him apart, or like if they cancel the fourth hatch, it's actually already done. But then that's where things become questionable. But it's still a playable game for both parties, and I would give it to Elazer right now, of course. But you know, with them not making lings, I wonder if he had made 15, 16 extra lings, would he have actually just won right there? But
yeah,
that's for the what if machine.
Yeah, not always good to do the hyper committal there, and I think Elazer's still going to be okay since he is able to push back those drops for now. No Marines have died just yet, but forcing them to stem out a little bit, forcing them to retreat back while more lings get finished up, and most importantly, Baneling's speed is almost finished, so should be here just in the nick of time for the push-in, I think. Like, it might actually even finish during the middle of the battle.
This push doesn't have much splash with it, so like yeah, Elazer, the biggest mistake he could make was just to be like, oh, it's not that much, and then move in immediately. He buys a little bit of time, yeah, more banelings, a couple more lings out, he should be fine. HeroMarine's push, I'm not even sure how much he wants to dedicate to it. The tank is really aggressive, way too over aggressive, but that split's pretty good. Backup banelings are prepared, but HeroMarine wants blood, man. Scans ahead, sees the backup banelings, goes, you know what? Okay, never mind, I'm good. Just pull this back.
Yeah, you know what's actually funny is I think he just didn't even realize there was a hatchery further down south, because I actually think he could have retreated back through the pathway of the hatchery and then darted up north, but I guess the mutas are going to be making their way across the map, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world to have your Marines back at home a little bit faster. That being said, there's actually a decent number of Marines already moving toward his main base, so he's getting ready there. Not quite as ready at the natural, though.
This is where things get really, really spicy. I mean, if HeroMarine had been able to do some type of immediate counterattack that actually threatened the Elazer, yeah, he's back in the game. But even though he can live for a while longer, it's going to be so difficult to actually break out against this third player who's going to have 5 bases, a lot of creep spread, and mutas running around. This is where it almost looks impossible. But HeroMarine's at least got a drop. He's trying to corral the mutas, but he's not going to be able to find them. He's not going to be able to quite get the space either. Elazer's done a great job following this up. And oh, the banelings! Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
HeroMarine doing it. Yeah, he does a great job of keeping an eye out on the Mutalis. He does a great job of doing some counter damage harassment, but doesn't get the hatchery. And it looks like those banelings just go unnoticed during all of the other stuff going on during this game. So that's a rough spot. And now Elazer just gets to continue macroing up like crazy behind this. He's adding on 6 more mutas, saying, well, you know, they're actually getting so much damage done. Why not continue with it?
Well, HeroMarine is pretty much just saying, I'm all in with this. Maybe you don't have enough banelings, but actually Elazer is totally maxed out. Nice macro behind killing 20 SCVs and never really taking that much damage. The one time he was almost weak. It wasn't even really weakness. That one push. This one's gonna get clobbered.
So deep on creep. He's so deep on creep right now. The siege tank is finally gonna unsiege and think about moving forward, but I think this is about the moment where Elazer's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I destroy this push and tie up this series 1-1.
GG. Well played by Elazer. And now with it all tied up, it's a little bit of a surprise. I said HeroMarine's weakness might be his TVZ. Is it truly his weakness? Is it going to be defeated by Elazer? That would be a surprise for me. But maybe that was just the one game he gets with the surprise attack. We'll find out more after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Game 3 blessing is upon us. We're getting another game number 3 here in our second series of the day for Europe on our second to last day of the group stages. So we're heading on to Pillars of Gold here for Elazer versus HeroMarine. Zombie Grub, how are you feeling about HeroMarine's chances here? Because that last game, it was off the back of Elazer basically catching HeroMarine in kind of an awkward spot, right? With his build order.
Absolutely an awkward spot. Killing 20 SCVs to the bare minimum, but I meant it as in it's the bare minimum to basically get a win. It's one of those numbers that, like, if they go Super Saiyan, you know, like, what was that one game that everyone refers to? The Young game, was it?
Frieza versus Goku? Oh,
no, there was like a Young game where he did this, like, you know, super sick comeback after losing a bunch of SCVs. And it was like, well, he was able to drop a bunch, right? Yeah, if HeroMarine had gone Super Saiyan, maybe he brings it back in, but Elazer, you know, he was prepared on all fronts. He very quickly went into the macro mode, got those mutas, which was going to really constrain and punish HeroMarine. You know, pacing-wise, he was way far behind. I don't think Elazer gets that again. I don't. I think HeroMarine knew that was a potential. He took the risk to go for a fast third CC, and he got appropriately punished. And now he's got to maybe actually play a straight-up macro game. We'll see about that. In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Elazer.
And up here on the top right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Terran player from Mouse Esports. He is HeroMarine.
Yeah. As much as I would say Elazer can't do the same thing over and over again, like that meme. You can't all let the Zerg player and win. Well, he kind of does that, so.
Yeah, that's like, Elazer is such a treat to see because he is not the typical Zerg player. He always finds these cute little ways to get in his opponent's face, and he defies the old standard of what we consider the old stereotype of Zerg players, which is sit back, drone as long as I can and get up the big macro army and do my injects properly. And Elazer's like, no, actually, I'm setting the pace of this game. Like, I'm not just gonna wait and react to my opponent all the time.
Right, yeah, he's definitely, despite playing Zerg, he's not, you know, usually the benefit of the Zerg. It's reacting. Yeah, I like to take a bit more control. HeroMarine is, I mean, in general, you can say that Terran's not really passive. There's all these things that they're supposed to be doing in every matchup. They're supposed to do the push out with tanks and TP, TPT, TBZ even, 2-tank push, 60 Marine drop, whatever. That's what it's supposed to do. But I would say as far as like HeroMarine going above and beyond, I don't actually label him as an aggressive player, right? That's more like a Clem. You know, HeroMarine does what he's supposed to because that's the type of guy he is. He's like, well, that was not ideal, so I will change, I will adapt, I will perfect.
Yeah, HeroMarine's attacks and stuff are usually more of like this is what I'm supposed to do, and it's a poke out. It's uncommitted a lot of the time, right? Unless obviously he's put into an all-in position after a rough game opening like this on that last game. But usually HeroMarine is going to be thinking about the next follow-up. He's thinking about the later stages. So we'll see if he can bring it out to those stages, as Elazer's been throwing weird play after weird play at him. So not sure if Elazer's going to let him get there.
I don't know about this one, Fear.
That doesn't even surprise me, though. That is a very HeroMarine thing to say. And I can just imagine in my mind him being like, well, if I control this better, then I should have been fine, so I'll just do it again and I'll just play better.
He's kind of right, I guess. You know, like if he had maybe pulled up to the high ground first and foremost, about a little more time, maybe take
seeing the roaches moving across the map with his health.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah. That would have been the best. And that's what they're supposed to do as well. You know, they are just literally spotters when you make that many and do what he did. They were just in the wrong spot. There's also a couple other things that HeroMarine could do, like add on a starport, which is exactly what he's doing. So, you know, I kept mentioning, like, he went right into the barracks. And I could see how, like, well, at least he had units to defend. He didn't just instantly GG there. But obviously, in the end of the day, he did definitely lose. So you could add on a starport and get a safety Banshee, literally a Banshee without cloak. And that doesn't take away too much from his build overall, but does protect him against those roaches, as long as he doesn't commit to Banshees. If he commits to Banshees, 2 Banshees and cloak, that actually is kind of obnoxious to play against a fast Spire, which I think Elazer is finally doing. You know, we thought it was the first game and it didn't happen, and last game was roaches, but I think this is going to be the fast Spire. Yeah, there's the Baneling Nest. So it looks like he's not going to commit to the Banshees, so Yeah, I like this protection. I think HeroMarine should still feel confident, even if he didn't need the Banshee at the end.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. So, well, the first Banshee going to be popping out soon. It's going to have an opportunity to move across the map and try and get something done. In the meanwhile, Hellions and the Reaper are just going to be poking at the front, confirming that there's, in fact, no shenanigans happening this time. And this time he really is trying to keep an eye out at that front door and making sure nothing slips past him.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use the starport for a Viking to clear out some Overlords, which is always nice. He should still have plenty of Marines to handle the Spire, which he got up there and saw the Baneling Nest, I believe. He actually literally got up there. So when you see the Baneling Nest at that time, especially like in that position, like, I don't know, it screams Spire most of the time. So he should know. And we just get to watch his first push. And eventually, against Elazer's barely ready creep spread, barely ready centrifugal hooks. Usually what happens.
Yep.
Oh.
And I mean, this is going to be a lot more of all the games so far. It's going to be a lot more of HeroMarine's comfort zone. And I think we've been building up Elazer as a player that likes to set the pace of this series. I think that is where he's strongest, but he's definitely got what it takes to take a player head to head with a macro.
Yep. I just remembered. Do you remember what I brought up in the first game? The whole like Ling Baneling Muta? Yeah. That actually could be his plan. I don't know, man. I don't know if HeroMarine's remembering this. So, first of all, HeroMarine faked Cloak, but I don't think Elazer believed it. He does cancel Spore Crawlers that he was like cautiously making, I guess. And then second of all, if it's a Ling Baneling Muta attack, it's such a frustrating thing to lose to. It was back on like Whirlwind, I swear that it existed back then.
Banshee.
Banshee's gonna die, but I don't know how much she could have helped anyways. But because it really is a matter of just like, okay, if I just kept my units together and like paid attention, kind of backed away, back into a corner, whatever, like I would have been fine. It's frustrating because it's the type of attack that makes you go, you only won because I wasn't paying attention, you're stupid, I hate this game. So if he was planning on doing that, that would be very frustrating. But with the +1 missile started, I don't think that's his plan. Yeah, and he starts up his evolution chambers now as well. All right, so more normal game. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, well, he's going to get those mutas across the map and try to keep HeroMarine at home for a little bit longer. Dives in right before the missile turret finishes up, so snipes off a couple SCVs, delays the missile turret by a few seconds, and forces out a stim. Doing a nice job with that muta control also, not losing any, even if he takes a bit of damage.
Well, now it is, HeroMarine, builds a bunker, so I think this could just be because it's nice to have. We've seen some Terrans, and it seems specifically HeroMarine, really just admit a bunker on a third is nice, whether it's versus Zerg or versus Protoss, where for a long time Terrans were like, no, we definitely need those 100 mils. So I like that. But it is going to be about HeroMarine's like first push against Elazer and how much creep spread he has, which is actually going pretty well. You know, clearly there was no pre-Baneling speed push, and there is going to be a pre-upgrade push. Elazer's upgrades are just later. That's what happens here. Can HeroMarine actually find any success with it? Obviously, Widow Mines are on the way. Second factory going to be added on soon. A bit of a slip up on the armory timing. I'm going to be critical.
Yeah, because 1-1 just finishing up, there's going to be a bit of a gap there that allows Elazer to catch up in those upgrades ever so slightly, since 2-2 physically cannot start just yet. But Marines are moving along the bottom side of the map. It's just a handful of them, because most of them are still up back at home, defending against the Muta Harass, poking and prodding. But I think that HeroMarine might be able to find an opportunity to try and cut off these mutas. He's looking for, he stims forward. He's going to be able to find the Overseer and dive straight underneath the mutas. Gets 2 of them, but does get forced back by some Banelings.
2 mutas is pretty nice because he didn't lose those Marines to the Banelings. Burrow is on the way, which I absolutely love to see. We could see some burrowed Baneling action. It's kind of funny because when the creep spread is so far out, it's like not the best opportunity for burrowed Banelings. But if Elazer is really controlling HeroMarine and making him be passive until 2-2 push, he can start planting burrowed Banelings almost aggressively. Like there's a couple of ramps on Pillars of Gold on HeroMarine's side of the map that he can actually take advantage of.
Oh yeah, definitely some brutal spots you can abuse on this map. +1 melee is now finishing up alongside +1 Carapace there for Elazer, so it's only like a 20 or 30 second delay on upgrades if he has opportunity to start up that 2-2 upgrades when he's not, keeping his mutas alive. It's gonna be a really nice opportunity to catch up there, but looks like he's prioritizing the muta upgrades for now, making a bunch of more Banelings and getting ready to move on in. He's moving these Marines a lot further forward. Widowmine already getting set off, and the Banelings are looking for connections. Most of the Marines at the front line have evaporated at this point, but a lot of the Banelings have been taken out as well, so Elazer is gonna have to back off, taking the fight off of creep. Definitely a bit ambitious there, and I'd have to say it didn't go that well for him.
No, it didn't. And unfortunately, his burrow wasn't ready. So while it would have been great to burrow banelings on the retreat, there was definitely an opportunity there. He had 10 more seconds to wait. That kind of sucked. But he was overly aggressive. That's the type of attack that HeroMarine shakes his head at and goes, that wasn't good. You know, he would love to take that fight. Concave is easy enough. And while the Widowmines weren't aplenty, he just had, he had the benefit there. So the muta count still at 14 is not terrible. But I actually, with +2 finishing up would be much better. I feel like it was like 18 or 20. Elazer is struggling to fill up the supply with gas units. He needs to get his 5th base gas up and running, I guess, as he also has to start 2-2, which is considerably later than HeroMarines.
Unburrow some lings right next to the Marines. Oh, the Marines find the banelings that are morphing on in. Oh, Elazer almost got away with that, but nearly just gets scouted. Looks like the mutas are kind of trapped over here. Gets a tiny bit awkward. Gonna try and run over. Oh no, Elazer with a big miscontrol. Loses a vast majority of the mutaflock there. Only has 3 remaining and a few more are being made, but oh, that's painful.
Yeah, very painful. This is not all of HeroMarine's army, so Elazer will be able to clean it up, but can he also clean up the left side, I guess? Looks like he was... Oh, he didn't bring his mutas back. Oh, the burrow banelings. Oh my god, the burrow banelings. Oh, they were okay. They were okay.
Yeah. Decent connection there. Takes out a handful of the Marines, softens them up, and instills maybe a little bit more fear into HeroMarine to be wary of burrowed banelings. Even if it's off of creep, then he might be using a couple extra scans here and there. More mutas are being made. He's going back up to 15 mutas, but that 2-2 upgrade did not get started for a while, so it's still a bit of time before Elazer's going to have it. He's going to try and take a fight because HeroMarine did inch his way onto creep. He cleared up a lot of it, so trying to take a fight there. He doesn't have an overseer to clean up the Widowmines, though. Oh, that's going to be a bit painful.
It's painful. I kind of wish that Elazer hadn't used those banelings, just to keep that in his back pocket. He has a burrowed baneling in the middle of the map that's not accompanied by a buddy, so it is mostly about the fights here. HeroMarine also finds the little task force off the left. The fight might not go slow, but oh my god, that Widowmine shot.
Oh, that actually should have been the sickest cleanup there for Elazer. It should have just been a hard shutdown. But losing like 20 banelings there, it felt like, to the one Widowmine. And now the burrowed banelings are going to get scanned. Oh, that could have been such a momentum shift there for Elazer.
Yeah, he was supposed to take that fight kind of no problem. I mean, it was just, HeroMarine had to accept that. That wasn't his entire army. And instead, that one Widowmine made it certainly a fair trade. HeroMarine now up 30 army supply and already on his 3-3. It's as expected. But the upgrades as of now are even. Elazer finally moving on to a hive. He's been struggling to deal with these Widowmines, getting hit by them, but also occasionally not having overseers. And HeroMarine's just perfecting his army, including some Thors. He should have the one big push soon that really should scare Elazer.
And at this point, a lot of the creep spread has been knocked back. There's a little bit of creep spread still left in this kind of center area we're looking at right now, but you look a little bit further down to the bottom, and there's basically one creep tumor in front of that hatchery. There really isn't a lot of area that Elazer is going to be able to retreat back to. Banelings, not exactly getting the best of connections there. Actually, a lot of the Marines lifted up into the medevacs and let the Marauders soak the damage. So nicely played there by HeroMarine. He's going to continue to poke forward on this right-hand angle with not his whole army, but it's enough to be annoying. It's enough to consistently just keep trading versus Elazer.
I think he felt a bit comfortable there too, because his medevac, while it didn't do any damage, was keeping track of the mutants. And if Elazer is going to clean something up, maybe he'll wait for his mutas to do so. He is bringing those back. HeroMarine is now reinforced with the rest of his army. Thor included. Elazer is going to be up to 20 mutas, so that Thor is actually pretty important now as he's rebuilt from the earlier loss. And Elazer does have hive, so he can push this back. Then he might be able to actually get into some ultras or whatever he would like to get with that hive, I suppose. But this push is quite scary.
Yeah, Baneling's going to find an opportunity to roll on in while still on creep. Mostly hit the Marauders, though, and that was a decent number of Banelings. Still 31 remaining here for Elazer. Definitely not going to have adrenal glands in time for this big push in to continue moving forward. There is a Ling counter swing on the top right-hand side, cleaning up a lot of those SCVs. So nicely done there by Elazer, stabbing back, but he's also got to be prepared for the left-hand side drop to move in at the same time as the army pushes in.
Oh, he's actually going to take the fight. He's going to lose a lot of drones on the left, but the Widowmine again is so good. My god, HeroMarine picks up some of his units as well to unload and continue taking out some of these mutas. The left side killed the entire drone line and might actually get the hatchery as well. Elazer, he might try and go across the map now, feeling a little bit desperate, knowing he's cleaned up a lot of units. But the supplies are still pretty darn even, and HeroMarine's army is waiting for him back on that 5th base, turning into a planetary. Does he have enough? He doesn't have much flash damage. Maybe Elazer can get something done if the Banelings actually connect, but HeroMarine is splitting, and they aren't going to get very good connections at all.
Oh, GG. HeroMarine ends up taking the series 2-1 in a couple of